Welcome to Sip, Sell, Repeat, the real estate podcast for women who know success is best served with a great cup of coffee or a well-earned glass of wine. I'm Dr. Cynthia Tant, your go-to real estate expert, here to help you navigate the market with strategy, style, and a little bit of fun. Whether you're flipping your first property, scaling your portfolio, or just dreaming about your next big move, this is the place for you. So grab your drink of choice, settle in, and let's sip, sell, and repeat our way to success. Let's get started. Good afternoon. I am so excited. Cynthia Tant here from Sip, Sell, Repeat. And I have Katie Lance. And she is pretty well known, I believe, from what I've heard, with the Get Social Smart Academy. And also as far as Katie Lance Consulting. I think I've been around a little bit longer than you as far as in the real estate field, but I see that you've been featured in Inman News, Huffington Post, Forbes, and some more places. That's awesome. And so today we're going to learn from Katie, and she's going to share her wisdom with us about social media and AI and what everything else is driving us crazy, or I should say me at the present time. Trying to figure out which direction to go. I don't know. But Katie, give us a little bit background about yourself and how you went this route from the real estate perspective.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me, Cynthia. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be on the podcast. And yeah, I've been in the marketing world for a long time, I feel like, and stumbled into the real estate part of it, like I would imagine a lot of folks do in some regard, and really kind of got my start doing a lot of what I'm doing now. Probably about 15 years ago or so, I was working for Inman News and was helping them with their events and social media. And it was kind of the perfect intersection between social media and real estate, and kind of got the entrepreneurial bug at the time. My kids at the time were very little, and I just felt like, you know what, this might be the right time to branch out. So started our company about 13 years ago. It'll be 13 years in October, which is exciting. And my husband quit his corporate job a few years back. So we now work side by side, partners in life, partners in business. And our whole business is really focused on helping agents and brokers get smarter about social media. You know, we really, like you said, there's so many different options. There's social media, there's AI now, there's all these different things that are changing all the time. And I find that it's just really overwhelming for a lot of agents. So
Yeah.
we don't feel like it's not the magic button, it's not the silver bullet, but when done right, social media and AI and putting yourself out there with content, it really can make a big difference, especially in your real estate business. So that's what we're excited about. I do a lot of training virtually. I also do a lot of speaking, and it keeps me very busy. It's great job security because it changes all the time.
That sounds great. And I agree with you as far as thinking about that. I mentioned a little bit earlier, being how do you come across, or in your, especially for content creation, how to create that content that's not so overwhelming, because there's so much out there. You mentioned everything being overwhelming. There's so much out there. So we know content is important. That's the name of the game. And those of us who are realtors or brokers or property managers or whatever we're doing, it's like that's not our first choice to be a content creator, even though we have it in our brains and we could spit it out, or AI could create it for us. But it really does get overwhelming. So what do you tell, especially a new agent, a new real estate agent, or somebody that's just getting involved, and where to go, how to do it? Give us some feedback here. Give us some tidbits of your experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you said it really best when you said, people don't get into real estate to become like a full-time content creator, and it can feel that way. And as a realtor, I'm not a licensed realtor, but I've worked with realtors for so long, and I know that most realtors, whether they're new, whether they've been around a long time, they're wearing like 27 different hats. They're trying to do all the things. So I am just a big believer. First of all, I don't think you have to be everywhere. I don't think as an agent you have to be on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and Pinterest. And there's so many options. I always
The
say
new ones.
yeah, exactly. I would say pick one or two that you like to be on, that you enjoy, that you enjoy personally. And then secondly, where your clients or potential clients might be. And for someone who is new, or even if they're more seasoned, they might even send an email out to people they have on their list and say, hey, we're working on our social media strategy. We're working on putting out some helpful content. And we're just wondering, where are you hanging out these days online? Is it Facebook? Is it YouTube? Is it LinkedIn? Like, is it none of the above? And people will tell you, where they're spending time. That's usually the kind
That's
of
a
the first start, is just
that's
thinking
a
of,
great way to start, is to
yeah.
go to that database, which for me being in the business for over 30 years, I have a huge referral based database that I never even thought to ask them. I just keep throwing it out there. Thank you so much. I learned something already today. All right,
Good.
Katie, keep it
Good.
going. Keep it going. I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah. So just ask. And that actually, the whole point of having a database, I think, is super important. I mean, one of the things I often say is social media is rented ground. We don't own it, right?
Mhm.
So as much as it can be a great place to stay in touch with people and stay top of mind and also put out helpful content and reach new people, we don't own Facebook. We don't own Instagram. So I do think it's important to have a database that you are regularly communicating with. And that could just be maybe a monthly email newsletter, maybe it's twice a month, right? Where you're putting out helpful content. And that content piece can really tie into what you're posting on social media. So if you like backtrack a second, if you think, okay, I have a database, it doesn't matter if it's 10 people or 100 or 1,000. If you have a database, think about, is there something of value you could email them once or twice a month? So if you want to think of something of value that you could email them once or twice a month, what could that be? Well, maybe it's a quick video that you did where you're sharing some helpful tips about moving to Pensacola, right? Or you're relocating from the East Coast to West Coast. What does that look like? If you can think about one or two pieces of content that you're already going to put on social media, whether that is Facebook or whatever platforms you decide to be on, that could be content for that platform, but it can also be something you link to in your database. Because I guarantee people in your database do not see everything. We'd like to think people
Oh,
see everything we post. It does
yeah,
not happen, right? That even
true.
my mom's like, doesn't see everything. People who love you the most do not see everything. So you want to also think about helpful content. I think that's a big thing right now. You mentioned content and
Yeah.
people get kind of overwhelmed. I always recommend for agents to kind of maybe sit down and brainstorm questions that come up as they are talking to people. What are some questions that have come up recently as they are talking to prospects or clients? Stuff that's just come up through email or phone conversations or things that people ask them at open houses. And if you can start to just kind of make a list of how people say things, how people ask you things, that can be a great start for content. And honestly, content doesn't have to be overly produced. I think one
Hmm.
of the big trends that we're seeing right now is it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be edited. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to have like the professional microphone and the whole video crew. You can literally take out your phone and say, hey, this is a commonly asked question. Like, I keep getting asked this question. My response. This is what I'm sharing.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we overthink it also. And
Well, no, I
I
agree. And I agree with that, because I have a young man, he's back at college now, but he's been doing all my posting, and he came up with this. He says, always, I'm taking pictures of you no matter what you're doing. I go, okay, whatever. And so he's following me around, and I cannot believe, I don't even know which platform it's on. I think it's a reel. I think it's a reel of me, over 120,000 people, because or whatever you call it. I'm sorry, I get them all mixed up. I
It's
need to
okay.
be more prepared for this. But of me going and serving an eviction notice, believe it or not, an eviction notice to somebody's house because they wouldn't answer their phones, they wouldn't do anything. So
Yeah.
I've got the paper, I walk up to the door, I knock on the door, they don't answer, I tape the door, and the doorbell fell off. So I put the doorbell on, and I said, why would people even be interested in this? And
Yeah.
it really woke me up, kind of go, okay, that's a little eye opener of an
Yeah.
eviction notice.
Yeah, you just never know. I mean, one of my good friends who's also a speaker, she often says the magic is in the mundane, right? Like
Oh, wow.
the things you just do and you don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Like, like you said, serving someone an eviction or getting ready for a listing appointment or going to a home inspection, like stuff where it's like,
Yep.
how is that even remotely interesting? But people are curious about things they don't know. Think about why HGTV is so popular. It's one of the highest
Oh.
rated things on TV, right? People love.
Mhm.
We know a house is not bought or sold in 45 minutes, but people love that. And so I often tell people, like, just try to get over that feeling of, oh, this is boring, or why is this even interesting? Just like you said, take the picture, take the video, and some stuff's going to stick and some stuff's not, and it's all good.
Yeah, because there is so much out there.
Yeah.
So how can you balance, I guess, the quality versus quantity kind of thing?
Mhm.
Because when it's put out there, I mean, some of it, I'm going, oh, why would people watch this? You
Yeah.
know, and is there a balance? That's the other thing.
Yeah, I do think there's a balance. And I think you could also cognizantly try to put your best foot forward. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And everyone has a little bit of a different style, right? You see some folks who just like roll out of bed and they're like recording
Yeah,
and you think I would never do that. But maybe it works for them, right? And like
right.
I think what reigns true is usually the content that people really resonate with is the content that just seems really real, where you
Genuine.
can,
Yeah.
it's not just 5 tips for this, but it's like,
Yeah.
hey, if my best friend was moving, like this is what I would tell her. So I think you have to have a little bit of that authenticity. And I guess one of the things that I do, I guess a little hack, if this helps, is when I record video, I often will record a number of videos all in one batch. I call it batching. I've joked in the past, like if I'm going to do my hair and my makeup and actually like record something, I'm going to record a bunch.
Blah, blah.
And
There you go.
yeah, and that seems to work for a lot of the folks that we worked with. We have a academy, kind of an online academy for our coaching,
Mhm.
and a lot of our students really like that idea where if there's a day they're going out and they're meeting clients, they're probably a little bit more polished and put together. Maybe they feel a little bit better about themselves. So they're like, okay, cool. I'm already doing this. I might as well also record some content. But I think to your question, it's just about like putting your best foot forward. And it's a little bit of a balance of like, done is better than perfect. Just get it out, but also be true to who you are and your personality.
Yeah, that's these are great suggestions, and I know as realtors, again, like you said earlier, we're spread all over the place. We've got the home inspectors and the pest control and the title company and the mortgage people, and we're trying I try to explain to I am a broker, so I try to explain to my realtors that it's like a spoke in the middle of a wheel, and okay,
Yeah.
we're going all these different directions, and we're going to have to control not control it, what is it? Controlled chaos, I think is what it is, and to keep
Yeah.
it rolling, because if it does get a flat tire somewhere, somebody's going to have to fix it.
You're
And
like the ringleader in the middle.
yeah, exactly. So somebody's going to have to fix it, and it usually comes down to the realtor trying to, okay, how do I solve this problem?
Right.
So the other thing is, I know because, oh my gosh, this has been just nuts, the AI concept of
Mm.
with ChatGPT, and it's funny because I read through the listings now in the MLS and I go, you didn't write this. They didn't even read it. As being a former college professor, I used to have to read a lot, and
Mhm.
grade people's papers. And so I'm a little bit always kind of judging what's put out there.
Sure.
And, the fluff words, what? That doesn't match this area at all.
Right.
Because the person who's reading it is maybe from out of town and not know it. And I'm
Right.
going, that's not honest, I'm thinking this in my mind.
Hmm.
So, how do we be true to ourselves, but also save ourselves a lot of time? Because I have done it
Yeah.
myself, but I do go back and read it. But
Hmm.
with using these tools and the best tools that you can suggest that can help us with that time component.
Yeah. Like you said, I mean, time is everything. Time's our most precious asset. And I think that's the biggest reason to use AI right now is just how much time it can save. But I agree with you. I think we are now at this age because ChatGPT came out in 2022. So now it's been 3 years and now everybody sounds the same. Like you
I,
said, you're reading listings, it's like anybody could have written this. So
yeah,
I think there's a couple things. I think first of all, anyone who's listening, if you are actively using ChatGPT or any tool, but especially ChatGPT, because that's kind of the most popular right now, is you have to go into your settings and customize your settings. And if you haven't done this in a while, it's a great thing to kind of go in and like make sure it's how you want it to be, because your settings are really where you can put in words that you frequently
that
use,
right.
or
Yeah.
words that you would never say, or you can even upload things where you're like, here's some examples of my writing, here's examples of emails I've sent or social media posts. That's, I think, first and foremost. And then secondly, like to your point, you just have to read it over. Like it's just, I'm sorry, lazy, like you said, to kind of just blindly copy and paste. You have to read it over. And this might sound a little old school, but honestly, when I use ChatGPT, if I'm going to use it, let's say I'm going to use it for an email or maybe a caption for social media or something, I literally read it out loud, which probably sounds ridiculous, but as soon as I
No.
read it out loud, I'm like, okay, that's like three too many adjectives I would never use, right? Or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
kind of like you being the college
Yeah.
professor. It you just catch it. So
Well, and you would know that student didn't write that.
exactly.
Because through the whole semester and they have a final project at the end of the semester, all of a sudden they just flourish with, and this is before Jet. I've been out of teaching for quite some time, so this is way before all this.
Right, right.
And so it's like, that is not you. Where did
Yeah,
that come from, But it's kind of interesting because your style of writing or your style of who you are, I don't know if people even have a concept anymore of their style of writing or who they are because
yeah.
they're not doing a lot of it on their own. And
That's
so
a good point.
when that flowery, whatever those words are, come out onto the listing, it's like, and or I read a lot online more than video. I really, believe it or not, I like to
Mhm.
read. And when I'm reading an article about somebody and it's about a woman and it says he, it
Mm.
just drives me crazy. They didn't even check because they're trying to put out as much content, getting to that quantity versus quality. Do you
Yeah.
feel people, I mean, we may be a little unique with us actually reading things. Do you feel that would enhance the real estate agent who does take that time to say, okay, I've got to read this back because this doesn't even make any sense to me, or something like that is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. I think there's a huge opportunity because I think when it comes to content, there's sort of a spectrum, right? So first you've got someone who's just nervous, they don't know what to do. So the first part is just like doing it, like just jumping in, doing it, putting out some content, maybe even playing around with ChatGPT to come up with some ideas or scripts, things like that. But then at some point, you're kind of thinking about how can I go from good to better or good to great, right? And how can I make it better? And like to your point, some people like to watch videos, some people would prefer to read. And where I see, especially for people who have been starting to do this for a while, where they can really get to the point where they're taking one big idea and turning it into a lot of different pieces of content. Like you mentioned
Mhm.
earlier, how you feel like sometimes you're like this wheel and you've got these spokes. And I kind of think that way with content at some point. So just as a quick example, if someone has one big idea, maybe they're really passionate about working with first time home buyers, that one topic could be turned into a long form blog post or a nice long article they write on LinkedIn, as an example, or even on their own website. It could then kind of get translated into an email they send their database. You could take that article that you wrote and put that into ChatGPT and say, well, based on this article I wrote, because it's your words, do you have some suggestions for how I could turn this into maybe a short video series, right? Of
Mhm.
3 to 5 videos.
It's a great idea. Great idea.
So I always I don't know if this is answering your question, but I feel like it's important to start with something that you've created, you've written, whether it's the written word, a video, and then take it into some place like ChatGPT. I'll just give you a quick example. I do this often for my YouTube videos. I will record YouTube videos. I get them transcribed, and then I take that transcription and then I put the transcription into ChatGPT. And I'll say, hey, here's
Oh,
a transcription of the video I just did. Based on this, can you help me come up with an article or an email or, ideas for shorter reels or whatever? And it works really well because it's my words, it's my voice, if that makes sense. So
no,
a
absolutely.
little bit of a trajectory, if that makes
Well, no,
sense.
no, no. But then sometimes, and I do this too, is I hire out, because I just don't have the time to do it. But that's not
Yeah,
my voice either. Sometimes I go, oh no, that is not it. I'm going to be going
yeah,
back and forth with the company right now. I said, that's no, and showing 20-year-old videos and so, no. I said, we're going to fix this. But
that's good that you're doing that because a lot of
well,
people
no,
just
no, no.
go,
I know it's
well,
not
it's
gonna.
okay.
That store has not been in this town for 20 years. I don't know where this picture came from, kind of stuff. The content is so important. You
Mhm.
being the part of the content is, I think, extremely important, and having your voice.
Yeah,
Because when the people do meet you, they want to make sure that they're meeting the person that they've seen either in the video or they've read or the blog post or wherever it happens to be. That's why this young man is so good working with me. And he said, no, you do this, you do this. And he's
that's
testing
great.
me out and asking me questions all the time and following me around with everything. I said, okay. kind of really weird, but that's okay. He has it right. He's 21 years old and that's his world. I mean, that's what he
That's
knows about.
awesome. Well, and he's smart in the sense that he knows it's about you. He'll help you put your
Yeah.
best foot forward, but
Yep.
it is. I mean, I think for any realtor watching, like you can either do it yourself or you can hire someone to help, or you can have a
Correct.
hybrid. We often will do a hybrid
Yep.
of both. But yeah, you've got to show up. And
Find
honestly,
that balance.
a lot of people just don't like how they look. They don't like how they sound. And
Oh, I know that.
you know,
I That's crazy. I said, this is me. When I
right.
show up to show a house, this
Right,
is what
right.
I'm gonna look like, you
Exactly. I'm
know.
the same person, I
Yeah,
think that the
and
dissonance is when we listen or watch ourselves back because we don't sound the
oh,
same,
yeah,
because of
yeah,
how, we hear our
uh-huh,
own voice, but
yeah.
you look how you look, you sound how you sound, it is what it is.
And if you don't like me, well, you know what? There's many more people out here to do. It's kind of like
All
one of those
right.
things.
Yeah. And you
Um,
have to be comfortable. I don't know if this is I don't know, maybe a female thing when you get to a certain age, you just have to be like, look,
uh,
I am not for everyone and it's all
yeah.
good. It's
And
okay.
I like that. I like that because, and they know where I stand on certain things. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, if you don't want to work with me, this is where I'm at. Okay.
Right.
That
Exactly.
sort of thing. And that's when one of the things is we're talking about more social media. And as people, majority of my business is coming in through referrals.
Mhm.
But I do get a lot of coming in off the internet that I'm assigning to other agents and things until they get up their business going. And they're so funny because of course they don't know the person. I said, well, this is the hardest person you're going to ever have. If you can make this happen, and kind of give them the pep talk and everything. But
True.
they're always asking me, and I don't think I've ever had an answer for this, is how do we convert all of these, not all of them, because I know it, not all, very small minor people that come
Yeah.
in through an internet, Instagram or something like that because they've seen us file an eviction, notice
Yeah.
to actually a client or someone that we're going to work with.
Yeah.
How have you seen that? How's that progression that you've seen that realtors have done?
Yeah, it's definitely a process and it's not always linear. It's not like post a video, get a comment, turn into a lead. It very rarely happens that way. And it's interesting because a lot of times we'll track back to see, well, where leads are coming from. And, there's some folks we've worked with who get a lot of business from social media, and they often you track it back to like, oh, yeah, I remember 6 months ago or a year ago, they first liked this, they first saw this, and then I started following them. And then, like, it's like this zigzag crazy pattern of how it ends up going from like someone seeing something to actually turning into business. I think there are some tools that can help along the way. I think one thing that really helps is if you have someone who is really interested in like a property, or someone who's a hot lead, someone who's like, yeah, I'd like to talk to someone. Yeah, we're thinking of moving. Yeah, I'd like information about X, Y, and Z. There's that old phrase, speed to lead, right? You have to get back to
You're
them
right. I
quickly.
know.
And,
Make sure you call her. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. So we started using about 2 years ago. There's a really good tool. I'm not affiliated with them or anything. I just use them and think they're good. It's called Mini Chat, ManyChat.com.
Okay.
And it's a service you pay for. I think it's like $15 a month. But basically, you can set up automation where if someone responds to a video, responds to something, then you can have an automatic response right away. It doesn't replace you following up to make sure that they got
Right.
whatever they were looking
Right.
for, especially on the internet. If people want information, they want it right now. They don't want to
Right
wait for
now.
an email. They don't want to wait for you to call them back an hour later. Or, with Instagram, you might not check it for a couple days, right? Like, who knows? So the way a lot of people are using it is if they have a listing or an open house or any kind of video, you can have a call to action that says, hey, if you'd like more information, comment below the word home, comment below the word guide, comment below the word link, and I'll send you the link to this. I'll send you whatever your promise.
Whatever called the action. Yeah.
Exactly, whatever the call to action is. And then you can set it up on the back end through mini chat where when someone comments with this word, they get this, right? So,
Cool.
which is kind of cool. So that is, I think, one thing that definitely helps to take someone from, like, especially if they're a hot lead, they're really interested in something, to communicating with them, getting them what they need. And then the key, of course, is you personally following up, messaging. And sometimes it takes a little bit of persistence, right? It could be a DM. It could be like going, oh, wait, here's their email. I'm going to also email them. Like, you don't want to be a stalker, obviously, but you want to be thorough in your follow up. And also, you could follow up with video or audio messages, right?
Mhm.
So most realtors are just following up by emailing or maybe even texting, but maybe
Yeah.
you're the only one who pops on camera and says, "Hey Joe, I saw your message. I'm Cynthia. I'm a local realtor. I got your message. I'm happy to send you what you need. Blah, 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 blah. Here it is. Let me know if you have any questions." And you can message that through Instagram or Facebook as a
Right.
direct message.
Mhm.
You're going to stand out big time because you're probably the only person who's done that,
To come through. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
true, true.
And then they can hear you and see you and be like, "Oh, she's a real person. This isn't, big automated thing." So those I would say those are a couple things. The other thing that I would say is you have to, on social media, because social media is social. If you want business from social media, it can't just be all promotional stuff. It can't just be
Right.
listings and open houses.
Yeah.
Like that's probably
Right.
why your eviction video did really well, because it was interesting. It's business,
Right.
but it's a little bit different.
Right.
You don't have to share every moment of your life, but just sprinkling in things that are funny or interesting, or even just kind of the behind the scenes. I think that's important also.
Right. Well, this is a suggestion from this young man, and I don't drink coffee. I'm just not a coffee drinker. But him and
I
my
won't hold it against you.
yeah, I know. But him and my personal assistant drink coffee. And they go, well, let's do this. Let's go to like 2 or 3 coffee shops downtown. We'll walk downtown. We'll stop at each one. We'll get the same coffee. The 3 of us will taste it and then we'll rank it. I go, this is not going to be good. I'm telling you, I'm not a coffee connoisseur at all. So we get to this first place. And I mean, it was the same coffee drink that he liked. I said, okay, with honey and whatever. And the first one I said, oh, it's not bad. But then he goes, well, what kind of ranking? And I said, well, it's 6.2. And he goes, well, what does that mean? So he's filming all this stuff. I said, well, you asked me what I would rank it at. And I said 6.2. So of course that was a joke. And so then they tasted it and, they were a little bit higher. And so then we went to the next place and it was terrible. I drank this coffee and I went, nasty. And we were at a coffee shop there, that we were promoting, it's like 1.3 or something like that. But then he thought it was the most favorite one. So the 3 of us are communicating through all of this of how we're tasting it, that he put it on TikTok. I think TikTok. I don't know. Anyways, and then in the middle of it, it started pouring down rain. And so we said, okay, well, let's go to the beer garden over here. So we're gonna have a beer in between the 3 coffees. He didn't put that on there, but it was kind of fun to do,
That's funny.
But that's what he says. He says, I'm a very social person. I enjoy people. And I do a lot of things and travel a lot and everything. Just show it. I said, okay. So those are the kinds of things. I think, what's your favorite app for tech that you use that you really streamlines your business and says, it can be a couple, doesn't have to be one, but what do you like going to?
Yeah, I definitely have a few. I use CapCut a lot.
Oh, that's what he uses. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I use it a lot. It's funny. I have 2 teenage boys and
Okay, there
they
you go.
use it. They even use it for school for their projects. It's a great tool. You can use it on your phone or on your computer. I first started using CapCut originally because I love the templates. Like you can just go on there and search real estate, and there's a gazillion real estate templates. So if someone's, especially at the like beginning stages, they don't know where to start, and if they have a bunch
Right.
of photos on their phone, this is what I hear
Right.
from agents. I've got all these
That's what he
photos. I need
Yeah.
to put them into a video. Like you've got photos from a
Yeah.
listing or just
That's what he's doing. Yeah.
coffee shop or
On his
whatever.
phone. I said, how do you do it on your phone? I go crazy. I got to have a computer.
Yeah, exactly. So you can do it really quick on your phone, or CapCut does have a nice desktop version
Yeah.
if you prefer that.
Yeah.
So I use that all the time. I do have a pro version with them. It takes the logo off, and gives you some more bells.
Yeah, I bought that for him. I said, what do you need? He goes, that. Okay, it's
Yeah.
all yours. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I am a huge Canva user. I've used
Yeah,
Canva
we do that too.
ever.
Yeah, we're doing that too.
Fantastic. I use that for a lot of my presentations and social media graphics.
Yeah.
Some, reels, things like that. I've used it for print material also. What else am I using? Oh, another tool I'm using for, it's not even an app. You'd like this if you like your computer.
Yeah, I do. I like.
There's a website called Descript. So DE, like D as in David, DE.
Okay. DE script.
CRIPT, descript.com. I might be
Okay.
spelling that wrong. This is awesome for any kind of video or podcast editing, especially if it's like something like this, right? Like this is a podcast where it's not just a minute, like we're talking for a solid, whatever it is. So you can maybe you hop on Zoom, like we're literally recording in Zoom.
It's a Zoom, right? Correct.
And I record all my podcasts in Zoom too. So I will take the recording from Zoom, I upload it to Descript, And speaking of AI, within Descript, there's all these little AI buttons. So one of them is this button that says, fix the sound. So I click that
Oh,
and it just cleans up. Like if, like right now I have some air conditioning in the background, like you could,
yeah.
if there's a
I think
dog
I do too.
barking,
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever, like it cleans up the sound. Then there's a button that says, take out all the pauses, like all the big,
Oh.
there's some big gaps. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Take out the ums and the ahs, the little filler words. So I use it because it's a great way to clean up a longer video or a longer
Mhm.
podcast. And then the,
Mhm.
the other thing I do with it is there's a little button that says, would you like me to take this long piece of content and turn it into a bunch of little tiny clips? And I say, yes, I would like that, please. So I
Man,
click
oh
that.
man.
And so it's awesome. That's also a paid tool. I can't remember how much I pay for it, but just in terms of just like, again, taking one piece of content and
Repurposing.
repurposing it, it's fantastic. And it does the transcription. So I talked about earlier how I take that transcription. I get that
And
transcription from Descript, throw it in
then you
ChatGPT.
should others. Yeah. And that's where I have probably failed in a sense that I haven't maximized the use of all of that,
Hmm.
and all the things that are getting back to me and then doing it. It's like, ugh, are you doing this all on your own? You're doing it for your own, you're doing
I
it.
am. Yeah. Yeah. We're small but mighty. I mean,
Yeah.
over the years, we've worked with some great folks. We've had some great
Yeah.
folks, on our team and contractors and things like that. But yeah, at this point, it's, we're sort of lean and mean. I mean, the market's been
There you go.
tough, as a lot of you, as a lot of people know. And so we've had
It's
to
been
kind
a
of
little
just,
weird this year. Oh my
it's
God,
been,
real estate has been really strange. I
it
mean,
has been.
I,
So
I
we've just
try to
kind of,
tell people, well, I try to tell people, I said, even from a rent, I also have an Airbnb, not Air, but a B&B company and,
yeah,
long-term rental management and sale. And so I've got, I'm pretty wide on the different businesses that I own, but it's
good.
just like, they're all kind of like, it's like this
Yeah.
is up and this is down and what the heck is going on, and
Mhm.
then September is usually a slow month for me and it's one of my biggest months. I said, what just happened? I don't understand it, you
Yeah.
know. So when people suggest or ask about how's the market going, let me see.
Exactly. Yeah,
Well,
it's
and so we produced the
challenging.
content. Like I did it hasn't been put out yet, but comparing Pensacola Beach to Miami Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and very different worlds,
Oh yeah.
totally different price points, everything. So I
Hmm.
started gathering all the information about statistics, and the statistics were saying that Miami Beach average price is like, I don't know, it was stupid, like 800,000. I said, that is not right because, and then we were higher than them. I said, oh no, that. So
Yeah,
I was smart enough to go back and say, oh, they were including not only Miami Beach, but all the Miami area, which does make a difference,
sure. Yeah.
So having to change that, but I made a funny video of it because I said, this is not right. There is no way,
Yeah.
and a friend of mine who at one point in time she had sold the highest priced condo at $27 million on Pensacola Beach for a condo,
Wow.
not Pensacola, Miami Beach for a condo. I went,
Wow.
you said you did what? And she took the rest of the year off, but no, but trying to compare two very different markets.
Yeah.
Like in Pensacola, you can still go buy a house on the beach for $400,000. Whereas
Wow.
you would never be able to, especially California, you would never find
No.
anything. It's anywhere close to the water is going to be multiple millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I'm showing right now, house 1.5 million on the Gulf. It's like, you're
Wow.
just not going to get that elsewhere. And people don't, we're secret. Don't tell everybody. Real secret.
Your
You know,
secret stay with me, Cynthia.
yeah, 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 yeah. The California group, my friends from California, they go, it's really cheap here, isn't it? I go, yeah, it is. But we don't make
That's
as much money
awesome.
here either. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of those things. But from a real estate perspective, and so you do target, or I won't say target, but you're primary, you work with real estate agents, brokers. Do
Mhm.
you work with investors also, or how's that?
No, it's primarily residential real
Oh,
estate
okay.
agents and brokers. That's just been kind of
Hmm.
sort of my bread and butter of, I guess, what I've been known for.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, a big part of my business, really, there's sort of two halves of my business. Half of it is I do a lot of speaking. I get hired to speak at conventions and conferences and local offices. I mean, all kinds of stuff. I'm, on the road quite a bit. And then the other half of my business, I do a lot of teaching, what I'm doing right now, but teaching virtually through Zoom. We do a ton of
yeah.
webinars. We have our Get Social Smart Academy where agents can sign up.
Tell us a little bit about that academy so that the ladies that come on, they can hear more about it.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, for sure. So we've run our academy now for about 10 years. It's basically a membership site. So you can
Okay.
sign up monthly or yearly. And when you're a member, you get access to it's a lot like Netflix. You get access to all of our training. You can
Right.
log in and see all the
Mhm.
training resources we have. We do weekly live calls. So I do a weekly live call, kind of like this, where I'm teaching a specific topic. We get into the nitty-gritty of like how to do this and how to do that. And then part of your membership includes things like content calendars and Canva templates and master classes and all that good stuff. So it's the idea is we're not going to do it for you, but we're
Right.
going to teach you the best practices. And again, I just come at it from a place of like, I don't think you need to be everywhere. I don't think you need to be a full-time content creator, just like you said in the very beginning.
Yeah.
So that's just really our heart, is how do we teach it in a way that helps agents get over that hump, get business, make it work
Right.
for
Right.
them. So yeah, if someone just goes to my website, just katielance.com, there's a little button that says Academy, and it'll give them the scoop on what it
Great.
is. So yeah, thank you for
Well,
asking.
no, absolutely. And is there something you'd like to share with our group, or just go to your website and say that? Yeah.
Yeah, we have actually a really great free resource. It's called our content grid. And so whether someone's new to all this or they've been, doing social media for a long time, it's a free resource. We've had thousands of folks download it over the years, and we just updated it. If you go to katielance.com, KATIELANCE.com/content grid, it'll just ask for your name and email, put that in. And what it is basically is it's a multi-page PDF, but at the heart of it, it's a content spreadsheet, content calendar, and it's going to give you about 30 or so ideas that you can literally print up. Again, I'm kind of old school. I will print it up,
I print up stuff too. I know.
sit by your computer. It'll give you ideas on what to post, different apps to use. And it's just kind of meant to just help you get started or take you to the next level with your social media and content strategy. And especially right now, as we are recording this, we're going into the last part of the year. So
Here.
it's really perfect timing. So wanted to
Sure.
offer that free resource. Feel free to check that
Oh,
out.
absolutely. And I think that when I mentioned before we even come on the air, I know I did that like 5 years ago.
Okay.
I think I could probably go find it,
I'll
and
have
I
to send you
printed
the
it
newer
off.
one.
Does it say it's like a square? Does squares on it? And then does it
Yeah.
say post this yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I've used that. Yeah, I've used that before.
That's
This is
awesome.
awesome that get back together and share some ideas here. So
Yeah.
is there anything, oh, I know I always like to ask this question. Since you're coming from the social media perspective and the content, everything from real estate, where do you see real estate going in the next 3 to 4 to 5 years?
Oh, well, as everybody says, we don't have a crystal ball,
I know,
right?
I wish I had that crystal ball.
I know. I often think back to what was it, that Back to the Future movie where he found the book
Oh,
of like
yeah,
the winning
yeah,
World Series or something.
yeah,
I wish
yeah,
you could do that. But I think the biggest thing that we're seeing is just AI. I mean, we've seen that kind of take over our world in the last 3 years.
everything.
And the more I talk to some of the big, quote unquote players in the industry, the big franchises, the big tech companies, they are all integrating AI into their back end, into how they're using, their tools. So
Right.
it can be a little nerve-wracking, I think, because nobody likes change. Change is hard, and there's a lot of nervousness people have with AI. And I think it's good to be cautious. I think you want to be careful. I don't think you don't use AI as your therapist, right? Like you don't want to give it too much personal information, but on a
Yeah.
professional level, it can be really, really helpful. And so I think in the next 3 to 5 years, I think we're only going to see more and more agents using it. But not only that, I think it's going to be integrated into just everyday stuff like checking the MLS, whatever
Oh,
email CRM you're using.
yeah.
Um, and then, I would say the other thing is it's interesting to see some of the acquisitions that have happened. Like there's a lot of news just recently about, apparently Compass is working on acquiring Anywhere Real Estate, which would be a
Oh,
massive acquisition. And so I think it'll be interesting to see what happens between sort of the big legacy brands who I've done a lot of work with, but also boutique
the
and
new
smaller
ones
brands
come
and what that
that are
looks like.
coming along. Yeah, that
Yeah.
have been out there.
Yeah.
I'm still, again, I told somebody, I said, not giving away my age or something, but in a couple of years, if I'm still doing this, please shoot me, from a standpoint. And they go, "Oh, you're never going to retire." I go, "Oh, yes, I am." And I love this stuff. My degree,
Yeah.
I got a computer science degree way back when it was 5 1/4 inch floppy disk on the Apple IIe. I mean,
Yeah,
people now, guys, you did that? I said, yes, I did.
that's
You know,
awesome.
so it's like what took me 2.5 years for my dissertation, I can do on my phone in 10 minutes right now, maybe 5 minutes, just based on what the phone can do these days. But real estate is still, I still truly believe it's a relationship business.
Yeah.
I truly still believe that that first time home buyer, they may think they know everything because of HGTV and everything else, but once they
Mhm.
realize the steps that they have to go through to buy a house, that's a whole different story.
Yeah.
There's got to be someone, and us as realtors, to guide them through that.
Yeah.
My issue is more too is like finding realtors to pick up the phone, just pick up the phone and talk to me. And I
Yeah.
hate getting away from that to just, I just want to ask you a question. I just texted you to please call me, and you texted me back, but you won't call me. Okay, if you're in
Right.
a meeting, I understand, not a problem,
Mhm.
but just call me when you can. So I
Yeah.
really still believe that. Do you feel as you're doing your coaching and you're out and about and you're with all these groups of people, is that still a sense that we are still in that relationship business? That what are you hearing from your groups of people that you're talking with?
Yeah, we definitely still are. And I think it's interesting because I think different generations and demographics think of it differently, right? Like there's definitely a generation of people that think, well, texting is the same as the phone call. It's even more efficient. So why would I pick up the phone? I'll just
Oh,
text, right?
yeah, true.
And I understand that, but I also understand the other side of things that there's, like you're saying, I mean, in my opinion, I think there's nothing like hearing someone, seeing someone. I mean, even like something like this with Zoom, we may not be in person, but it's like there's body language, there's
Yeah,
things that just get missed sometimes in texting. And I often remind agents of this. I said, think about just in your personal life, if there's ever been miscommunications over what someone said via text, it happens all the time. So you have to, I think, respect how people want to communicate. Some people are more texters, some people are more over the phone, but I agree with you. I think this is such a relationship business. You were dealing with someone's, in most cases, the biggest, one of the biggest
biggest.
financial decisions of their life. Yeah, like you said, pick up the phone, meet in person. I still think there's a lot of value in going, hey, I want to meet up with at least one client a week, right? And take them to
Right.
coffee. Or, some agents we work with still do pop buys where they're, popping by and dropping
Yep.
off, holiday card or whatever. Like, I think sometimes that's a little bit of a lost art, but I think it's so important. Same thing with thank you notes. I just did a video about this the other day. I was like,
We
please.
just sent out 6 of them to the last closing we had yesterday. My assistant,
Yeah.
she goes, "Here we go. Oh, I got them all." I says, "Yep, I still do thank you note." And you know
Yeah.
what?
It's important.
In my 30 years of sending out thank you notes, I may have gotten 10 back.
Yeah.
And I mean, every single, and people say, "Oh, I got your thank you note."
Yeah.
They didn't think to send it back,
Right.
kind of stuff. But I've
Yeah.
always thought that to be very important. That was way back sales. Oh my gosh, who used to do that? What was his name? Hopkins. Tom Hopkins? Is that
Oh
what
yeah, Tom
the old
Hopkins.
sales guy?
Oh my gosh,
Or
yes.
Zig Ziglar. Zig
Yeah.
Ziglar.
I know. I think
I
behind me,
met him.
I think I have Zig Ziglar's book, one of these red books. I think
Yeah,
is Secrets of Closing the
I
Sale.
have a
I
picture
think
with him. Yeah, I
you
went to one of his
do.
conferences. I do. It's like in
Gosh.
the 80s, I guess. Yeah.
Wow.
I was still teaching. I was teaching, but I wanted to start getting to sales, which you're teaching, you're a salesperson. You got to be.
Sure.
But I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And I know you have a busy schedule, and I've learned a lot. I've got my little notes right here, and I'm going to look up a few things. And again, my name, for those of you that didn't get it at the beginning, I'm Dr. Cynthia Tant. Some people call me Doc Cindy, some people call me Cindy, and who knows, I'll know by how crazy thing happened. Went to a basketball game, WNBA game. It was between Atlanta and the Indiana Fever. And I'm a big sports fan. So I'm getting ready to get an autograph from Sophie Cunningham, one of the basketball players. And my friend here says, "Look who's down there." It's one of my former students from 30 years ago who I have not seen. And I go, "Cook." And she goes, "Dr. Dan." I go, "Oh gosh, people don't say that very often." But, it was so interesting that running into people and that immediately we're friends again, even though I was a professor, but immediately we're just that connection. And she goes,
Yeah.
"I need to come back to Pensacola. Are you still in that real estate thing?" I go, "I am."
You're like, yes, I am.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
that's
but
fantastic.
anyways, I want to thank you so much for, joining us. And I'm just going to end up here and thank everybody. Now, sip, sell, repeat. What that means is whether we're sipping coffee or a glass of wine, we as ladies have a nice, I guess you would say an interesting, what's the word I'm thinking, relationships or whatever, where we can just share. And we hope that you've learned a lot from Katie today and come back and catch us again with some of the other wonderful women that have been on the podcast here. And Katie, hold on because I'll shut this off at the end and we'll say a few things at the end. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
That's a wrap on this episode of Sip, Sell, Repeat. If you loved what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another powerhouse woman in real estate. Got a topic you want me to cover? Send me a message. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep sipping, keep selling, and keep repeating that cycle of success. Cheers to you and your next big deal.